Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, April 30th, 2023. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. And another week has flown by again. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube. And I'm getting kind of a late start, but better late than never, I guess. I'm hanging in there. But tonight we're going to look at methane, sea ice, climate-related items. I've got a couple of articles I want to share. And before we get started on all of that, I wanted to show that on the CAMS data, they're lagging on posting data. The most recent data they have up is from Friday the 28th, so we'll be looking at that. And I've got 2 days worth of NOAA methane data to look at, Friday and Saturday. But this is common for CAMS to lag on posting sometimes. So I'm going to start off with a couple of articles. The first one, there were several different things that carried this story. This is just one of them, AP News. This came out on the 27th of April, and it's titled Earth in Hot Water, Worries Over Sudden Ocean Warming Spike. And let's see if there are pictures. I don't see pictures. Let's go to this view. The world's oceans have suddenly spiked much hotter and well above record levels in the last few weeks, with scientists trying to figure out what it means and whether it forecasts a surge in atmospheric warming. Now, we've been talking about this. This has actually been going on for a couple of months, March and April, and Sam Carana has been posting on this, and his website is arctic-news.blogspot.com, and so this is coming out now. Some researchers think the jump in sea surface temperatures stems from a brewing and possibly strong natural El Niño warming weather condition, plus a rebound from 3 years of a cooling La Niña, all on top of steady global warming that's heating deeper water below. If that's the case, they said, record-breaking ocean temperatures this month could be the first in many heat records to shatter. And so here, from early March to this week, the global average ocean sea surface temperature jumped nearly 0.2 of a degree Celsius, or 0.36 degrees Fahrenheit, according to Climate Reanalyzer. That may sound small, but for the average of the world's oceans, which is 71% of Earth's area, to rise so much in that short a time, that's huge. It's an incredible departure from what was already a warm state to begin with. So they're setting records, and they don't know why. Now, I've been talking about like magma rising and, heat coming up from under the Earth's surface. And anyway, I'll leave a link for this article below, and you can read that, and it's more of the same. And the oceans are so hot now, they can't absorb any more. Like, here's sea surface temperature anomaly for yesterday on Climate Reanalyzer. And we got this big brown line coming across the Atlantic, and here in the Pacific, this red, see all this red, this has developed just in the last 2 months off the coast of South America, Ecuador, and Peru. And see the brown coming across at the equatorial Pacific, and this is setting up as the El Nino is forming. So and here's another article I want to share, goes right in line, and this is from Strange Sounds, and this was published April 22nd, and the title is More Than 19,000 Previously Unknown Undersea Volcanoes Revealed by Satellite Data. 19,000 underwater volcanoes that they didn't know about before. So, let's see if there are pictures. Just that one. So let's go to this one. Okay, this is better. So, here's the article. A team of oceanographers at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, working with a colleague from Chungnam National University and another from the University of Hawaii, has mapped 19,000 previously unknown undersea volcanoes in the world's oceans using radar satellite data. In their paper published in the journal Earth and Space Science, the group describes how they used radar satellite data to measure seawater mounding to find and map undersea volcanoes, and explains why it is important that it be done. The ocean floor, like dry land masses, features a wide variety of terrain, and as with dry land, features that truly stand out are mountains. In the ocean, they are called seamounts, and as on land, they can be created by tectonic plates pushing against one another or by volcanoes erupting. Currently, just 1/4 of the seafloor has been mapped, which means that no one knows how many seamounts exist or where they might be. This can be a problem for submarines. Twice, U.S. submarines have collided with seamounts, putting such vehicles and their crew at risk. But not knowing where the seamounts are located presents another problem. It prevents oceanographers from creating models depicting the flow of ocean water around the world. Well, and besides that, if you've got volcanoes that are going off under the water, that can be heating up the water, and if you have that going on in the Arctic or Antarctic, it can be melting the ice or the glaciers, or causing it not to refreeze. And I wanted to show, like here on the USGS website, you can see when you zoom in, you can see the terrain under the water. Like here are oh, where'd it go? Well, it loses it if you go in too close. You can see, like here's that's a volcano underwater there. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another. See the point? That's the mount. Here's another mount. So you can see them. Sometimes, excuse me, I'm having a hard time with my voice tonight. You'll have a whole ridge, like here. This is south of Japan, and these are, this is a whole volcanic range. You can see the ridge under the water there. So here's another one. See, you can see the lines there, and here it follows the tectonic plate line. Here's some more, and see, here's a little island just poking up. And you have new islands forming all the time, and other ones like sinking all the time. We just don't hear about it that much. Here's another ridge down here, see, in the South Pacific. You could see it. So 19,000 new ones, and they've only gotten started. And so I think that's going to be, when they really figure it out, they're going to see that we've got volcanoes erupting on underwater all the time. Well, and that's how these volcanoes grow, it says. Deep sea ocean flow. Oh, well, this says that they grow. It says as currents run into sea mounts, they are pushed upward, carrying colder water with them and mix in unknown ways. And it changes the currents. Mapping such currents has become more important as the oceans absorb more heat and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and fresh water melt, etc. But it also grows by it erupting, and then the magma comes out, and it just gets bigger and bigger. So I'll put the link for both of those down below. I just thought I'd share that first of all. And we'll see It's after 9 p.m. Pacific time, and usually this flips over to the next day around 9 p.m. Pacific or midnight Eastern time. So far, we're on the 30th, so we're going to start here on Climate Reanalyzer with maximum temperatures around the world today. We're seeing warmer air over the Arctic region now, and here on the west side of Canada and the U.S. and southern states in the U.S. Then we've got cold air coming down from the Arctic and through Canada and the upper Midwest and eastern states. Here's the Pacific view. Here's the Atlantic view. And see, this whole western side of North Africa is in the whites. Here we got Saudi Arabia in the whites. Now India, looks like this temperature has gone down a lot. This had been covered up in whites this week. We've got Southern Asia in the whites. And white is 40 degrees C or higher, or 104 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Okay, here's 2-meter temperature anomaly for today. See the browns just dispersed across the Arctic, and then browns and reds over this Canadian archipelago and in northeast Canada, and then all of this western Canada area and the U.S. And we got dark browns even, and the dark brown is about 14 C higher than normal. And we had here in the Reno area, we had a very pleasant week, and we had warmer temperatures, and in fact warmer than normal. And I think yesterday or day before we got up to 86 degrees, was it? And yesterday I think it was 81. I don't know what it was today. It's cooling back off, and we're going to have a cool week with rain coming in and snow in the mountains still. And so here are the blues from Texas east all the way up into Canada. Here's the flat view. And see the browns and right next to the blues. We've got reds down here in the Antarctic. This is on this northwest edge. Here's our overview worldwide. We're up 0.53 C, higher than normal. Northern hemisphere is up 0.65 C. The Arctic is up 2.45 C. The Antarctic is up 0.33 C. Southern hemisphere is up 0.4 C. And the tropics are up 0.5 C, higher than normal. Here's precipitation and clouds today. And see, you've got an atmospheric blob headed towards the UK. This is in the Atlantic right now, and it's getting pretty close to Iceland. Then you've got snow up here around Norway and on this east side of the sea ice. Oh, and um, I've been checking National Snow and Ice Data Center every day to see if they've started reporting on the Greenland melt, and they have not. They put up a new post saying beginning in May they're going to start putting that up. And always before it was in April, but I don't know why they're late. You know, it could be a personnel shortage. Could be a lot of things. So tomorrow's May 1st. I can't believe it. This year is just, it's like warp speed going by. And here's this big atmospheric blob on this east side of the US and Canada. And that's huge. And then there's snow up there in Canada. Here's the flat view. Okay, here's the Pacific. And so on. And here's the jet pieces. See the snaky loops coming down. And here is where the cold air is swooping down from the Arctic. And here's the flat view. Lots of loops. Here's the Pacific view. And then sea ice and snow cover. We're still on today. And it's melting slightly on the extent, but more than anything, it's thinning. It's thinning. You'll see when we get to our other models here. So here's sea surface temperature anomaly for yesterday. And we've got the browns up here in the Barents Sea still with some blues next to it. In North Atlantic browns and around Greenland. And this is chronic hot water off the coast of North America. Here's the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the Atlantic view. You can see almost all of the Atlantic is in some shade of brown. And they really need to update this chart because, I mean, we're going higher than 6C, higher than normal, which is the pink. The dark brown is about 3 to 4C higher than normal. The red is about 5C higher than normal. And you can see the Indian Ocean all around India. See, that's brown. The Mediterranean, see, that's heating up pretty fast here on the west side. Here's the Pacific view, and see this red just off the coast of Ecuador and Peru. Then all the brown. And here in the North Pacific, this is where the blob typically forms every summer. And then we've got brown all around these South Pacific islands. So there's that. Okay, now we'll move on to methane. We're starting with the NOAA methane data for Friday the 28th. Met-Op-B satellite in the morning, 1000 millibar level. The mean or average was 1,838 parts per billion. The high reading was 2,089. In the afternoon, the mean was 1,839. The high reading was 2,098. On the Met-Op-C satellite in the morning, the mean was 1,844. The high reading was 2,127. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1,844, and the high reading was 2,074. And then yesterday, the 29th, on the Met-Op-B in the morning, the mean was 1,839, high reading was 2,110. In the afternoon, the mean was 1,839. The high reading was 2,126. On the Met-Op-C in the morning, the mean was 1,842. The high reading was 2,094. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1,844. And the high reading was 2,070. Here's our weekly 1000 millibar chart. So the 29th averaged out to be 1841.0, and that gives us a decrease overall here this week of 0.5, and here's where it went down, 0.5 parts per billion. And here's what happened this week. So in our show last week, we ended at 1841.5, and it had a weekly increase of 1.25, and then the 23rd went up 0.5, 24th went down 1.5, 25th went up 0.75, 26th down 0.75, 27th up 2.25, and I've got a couple of question marks here because there was quite a bit of missing data in the afternoon readings. And then the 28th went down 1.5, and the 29th went down 0.25, giving us an overall decrease of 0.5 for this week. So it's stair-stepping, which is common before we really get into the big heat up. Now we'll move to the 487 millibar level, back to the Met-Op-B satellite on the 28th in the morning. The mean was 1912. The high reading was 2397. In the afternoon, the mean was 1915. The high reading was 2393. On the Met-Op-C in the morning, the mean was 1881. The high reading was 2246. In the afternoon, the mean was 1881. The high reading was 2243. Then on The 29th, or yesterday, at the Met B in the morning, the mean was 1914. The high reading was 2385. In the afternoon, the mean was 1913. The high reading was 2423. On the Met-Op-C in the morning, the mean was 1881. The high reading was 2218. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1879. The high reading was 2276. So here's our weekly chart for the 487 millibar level, and the 29th averaged out to be 1896.75, which is where we ended last week as well, so no change this week. So a straight line right there. So let's see what happened. Here's where we ended last week at 1896.75, and we'd gone up 2.0 that week. The 23rd averaged went up 0.25. 24th down 1.75. 25th no change. 26th down 0.5. 27th, that was the day with the missing data, up 1.5. So I'm thinking that it really wasn't that high, but anyway. The 28th went up 1.0, so it could have been, that could have been accurate, because we went up from that even. Then the 29th went down 0.5, and so we ended up back where we started from. So no change this week there. Now we'll go to the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service website, methane forecast. Our base time and valid time are both for Friday, April 28th, and we're starting with the Arctic area and surface level. So the data is for Friday, and forecast period is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So we're seeing across the interior of Russia, getting a few spots popping up in the forecast period here further east. This has been pretty quiet. Okay, we've got a couple of frames that are not coming up, but that's what the white spots are. And let's see, we've got higher reading here on the Russia coastline, just across from Novaya Zemlya. Well, that's annoying. And Koptovik here in Alaska, high reading. Here in North Dakota, it's a constant. Here are the tar sands in Canada. Okay, I'm gonna pause it here. It started over, so this is Friday. Remember, the rain had been coming across the U.S. and see the huge blobs. This is the Mississippi River. Here's the Ohio River Valley. Here's Texas and West Texas. Here's California and the northeast seaboard there. So that's high. And then we'll go to the North Pole view. Here's the UK. We can see that's filling up. Germany is coming back to life. Persian Gulf is filled up and spilling over. Here's India, China. Now, India and China are actually looking like it's going down a little bit. It's not just the solid blobby when it's at its peak in the daytime. Same thing with China. Has some lighter readings. But you see the burst coming out. I mean, that's just high methane. You see these waves marching across from one continent to the next. See this burst coming off of the U.S. there. So there's that. Then we'll go to the global view. And the southern hemisphere is being overtaken by the higher reading. The 1840 parts per billion is this lighter blue. Just a little bit of the navy blue, a little wisp is left by the end of the forecast period. And that's 1820 parts per billion. So we can see it's higher in the southern hemisphere as these seasons are changing. South America is not looking good at all. See, look at this, from Brazil all the way up into Colombia. Okay, and then we'll look at 500 HPA. We have, see this lower reading across the Arctic there. So it's kind of, the heavy part is kind of breaking up, moving further south. And you see higher readings further south. Look at the reds as it's redistributing. And then total column. And here's our highest readings. China up towards Japan. Here's the Philippines. Here's this is like Myanmar area and East India. and all these reds. So there's that. Okay. These images are from cams for today. This is sulfur dioxide. Look how this Arctic region has just been taken over with the reds and the golden colors. It's kind of crazy. A lot of this has been from the volcanoes on Kamchatka exploding. Here it is at 500 HPA. So it shoots up in the atmosphere, and it holds on, especially over the Arctic with the cold air. It just hangs on at that level. Here's the North Pole view. See, here's Kamchatka, Russia. There's the high reading there. Here's 500 HPA. Here's ozone. This is the Antarctic. Now, during the week, there was a danger zone ozone hole that was kind of morphing in and out. It started up in this northwest area, and it kind of floated down towards the interior over the south, next to the South Pole, but that's closed up now today. But you can see most of the Antarctic is in some shade of green or aqua, and that's all below average, and it's all in the dark now. Virtually all of the continent is in the dark now. Then we've got these breaks coming up. And here's the Arctic ozone. You can see this heavy is breaking up and kind of dissipating and shifting around. And see, look at this thin, super thin area over western Canada and coming down over the US there. And here's the global view. So here's the thinning here. And see, the reds are coming further south right now. We still have greens around the mid-latitudes. And earthquakes, we'll get to earthquakes a little later, but I'll go ahead and show the pictures that I took today. There were 299. So that's a high number for 24 hours. We've been seeing the Southern California area swarming for about 3 days now. This is at Heber, California, which is just north of the Mexico border. This picture showing 24. Now we've had them a lot higher than that in the last couple of days, and the largest was a 3.0 here today. And then this is the Salton Sea. This is also in Southern California, right on this southeast edge. at Nyland, there are 42 in this picture, 42 earthquakes, and the largest was a 4.5 that came in today. And just west of the Salton Sea at Ocotillo Wells, California, they had 7 here, and the largest was a 3.4. So Southern California is really shaking. And then this is kind of an unusual place. This is in New Mexico. This was a 3.1 near La Jolla, New Mexico that came in last night. It's south of Albuquerque. And so that's I mean, sometimes we see them in New Mexico, but it's not a usual thing, especially there, kind of in the central part. That's all of those. Now we'll move on to sea ice. We're starting with the U.S. Navy Arctic sea ice thickness models. This is updated to today, the 30th. Here's our color ledger on the right. And this has started melting. Look over here in the Bering Sea. See all the white? That's where it's melted. The fringy ice. And see the darker aqua here over the Latev Sea. That's where it's thinning. And this extent is real fringy here in the North Bering Sea. And see the hole here next to Franz Josef Land. And just fringy ice. A lot of this is melted around Greenland, but we've got just some fringe ice here. And here in the Baffin Bay, this has been melting down. Also starting to melt here in the Hudson Bay, we can see. These tributaries are starting to change. See the light lavender that's melting. This is in the North Baffin Bay. The thickest ice, which is just this dark red, that little line along the Canadian coastline, that's 5 meters thick, the dark red. The bright red is about 4 meters thick here, right above Greenland. The green is about 3 meters thick, and you can see this line is not as far out as it had been, so that's thinning. The bright aqua is 2 to 2.5 meters thick, and then the darker aqua goes down. It's all different shades of aqua, from coming down from 2 down to, what is it, 1.5 meters thick, like here in the Latev Sea. The dark purple is about 1 meter thick. The dark blue is about 1.25 meters thick. So There's that. And here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to today. So the data goes back 3 weeks and the forecast goes out to next Sunday. So the sun is up. It's been up for a while and starting to heat up there in the Arctic. Watch over here in this Bering Sea. See, that's clearing out. See the white, that's where it's melting. Also the Sea of Okhotsk, this is also considered part of the extent. See, that's in high melt now. Yeah, you can really see a change. See that change in the colors as we go into the forecast period. So, let's see. Okay, here we are. I stopped it. This is at the end of the forecast period. This is where they're expecting it to be next week, next Sunday. You can see the darker area here. So that's where the ice is thinning way down. It's also, you can see it darker here over this East Siberian Sea and Chukchi Sea, and just thinning. Here's the Beaufort Sea ice thickness. This is for today. Here's that thickest ice. See, right along the Canadian coastline. Not much. And here's the 3-meter ice in the green. And see the whole along the Alaska coastline here. That's where the ice drift pulls it away from the coastline. So the 30-day animation, again, this was updated to today. So the forecast goes out to next Sunday. So you can see this this ice like leading down or moving down. This is how the Beaufort gyre works, and it pulls the ice down from this Canadian coastline, and usually it's rotating in a clockwise direction. Sometimes it goes counterclockwise, but usually it's a clockwise direction. And here's the Antarctic. Now this is on the refreeze, with it going into their winter. or they're in the fall now, not quite winter yet. And here's the Ross Sea where it's frozen, and on this west side, and it's still open here around this west side of the Western Peninsula. And here's what's left of the thicker sea ice. It's mainly aquas here along this Western Peninsula and in the Weddell Sea. And then we've got some fringe ice coming back around the coastlines. Here's the 30-day animation. And again, updated to today, so the forecast goes out to next Sunday. So it looks like in the forecast period it's showing quite a bit of regrowth here in the Weddell Sea, and then finally on this west side, because this is just now coming into the dark. And now National Snow and Ice Data Center, their most recent data was from Friday the 28th. This is Arctic sea ice concentration, and these blues, this is where it's melting. Look at here in the Hudson Bay and North Baffin Bay, and along this edge on the Baffin Bay. Here in the Beaufort Sea. Here along Alaska. Look at all the blue. See, that's high melt there in the Bering Sea. And here's some blue in the Laptev Sea. Here's the Kara Sea, and then here in the North Barents Sea. The brown is the median. So we're well under that. And here's the extent chart. And it's been a slow decline, and our maximum was well under the maximum of 2012 and the median, and it's been a pretty slow decline, but now you can see the line is going down at a steeper angle, and we're still quite a bit below 2012 in the median. We might might meet up with 2012, or we might see a steady decline and be below the extent of 2012. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Here's the Antarctic, and the brown line is the median, and so we can see it's well below the median here in the Weddell Sea. And here's the refreeze extent chart, and this blue line is this year, this darker line is last year, and we forked off. We had been tied with last year for quite a while, and now it's forked off, and I mean it's going up, but still well below last year. And last year was record low. This year is record low too. There's that. Now we'll move on to NASA Worldview. And just to show what the Antarctic looks like, here's the model showing where it's dark already. Just this western peninsula, the tippy point, is still in the sun. Here, and let's find our iceberg. We're tracking A76. See where he went. Where'd he go? Oh, he's right there. It's under the cloud. Now we've been seeing some pieces breaking off here. Here he is. Here's a pretty good view from the 26th. And see, each end is like just a straight line. So it's the ends have broken off. And see the little white pieces, that's where it's breaking off. And you can see the edges. This edge on the right here is more jagged. See, it's still, I mean, it's amazingly intact. But I don't know how long that's going to be floating around up there. So it's rotating counterclockwise right now. And there's really not much to see here. I don't think. Here's the Totem Glacier. Here's where it is. Here's the sea ice coming back up. So you can see the edge of the ice where it's refreezing. So there's that. Now let's move on to the Arctic. Here we are today. And oops, I didn't mean to do that. Here is sea ice concentration, one of the layers. See all the red and pink? That's where it's melting. See the line here? This is the Laptev Sea. Once you see greens, like that's open water. Here in the Kara Sea, same thing. And see the more pinks coming in. That's where the cracks are, you know, it's coming apart. The leads are coming apart. North Baffin Bay, that's a hole. Here, you can see the melting where it's moving into the reds and greens. Yeah, high melt out here in the Bering Sea. Same thing here in the Sea of Okhotsk. Not much there, huh? here's the blue model, and this is like a National Snow and Ice Data Center image. Alright, let's just go in with the satellite image. Here's Greenland. Let's start here. And here's the Lincoln Sea. So this whole area is thinner than this out here. This never refroze real good during the winter time. I'm thinking maybe underwater volcanoes, you know. Why not? And here's the nearest strait. And here's the opening into the Baffin Bay. There's a cloud over that, I think, yeah. So there's open water there. Look, here's yesterday. That's better. See all the open water here? So this is a big exit point for sea ice. Let's see, you can see the melting here. Here's Greenland. Go back to today. Just some fringe ice around the coast there. Here's the east side. See? Here's the north side. See the lines. That's where it's melting apart. The long lines are called the leads, and that's where the thinner it's thinner because it was the water in between the big pieces of ice that refroze the leads, and those go first. And once those pop open, then you see ice cubes. Here's Svalbard, and here's this fringe ice. Here's Franz Josef Land. Here's open water. Here's Novaya Zemlya. Open water here. Here's the Kara Sea. Wow, look at this view. There's the ice. And see where it's melted next to the coast. See? And see, here's melt going on. Here's Severnaya Zemlya. Here's Komsomolets. There's a Vovolov ice cap, and once this ice out here melts, we'll be able to see this flowing into the ocean as that's melting. And coming around. Here's the Laptev Sea. See, here's open water. There's New Siberian Islands. Okay, here's the East Siberian Sea. Here's Wrangell Island. And see this, this is breaking up right here. Here's the Bering Strait. See, that's melting really fast. See, there are clouds. That's the 26th. Anyway, yeah, I mean, just look through the cloud, and here's the ice, and so this is open water down there. See, here's the hole around Alaska. And here, see, look at this. See, that's open right around Alaska there, all the way up to Barrow here. That's the Chukchi Sea. Here's the Beaufort Sea. See the lines? Here are the leads opening, see? You can see the cracks. And here, definite openings. That is open water there, see? And coming around, here's Canada and Ellesmere Island. And we're back to where we started from. Let's see what else. Look, here are the cracks as you're going towards the North Pole. There's the North Pole, and you can see the cracks here forming just north of the North Pole. See? See, there they are. So it's on its way. The melting has begun. And now look at earthquakes again. So the numbers going down. We're at 279 worldwide now. And I wanted to just go ahead and go to 7 days all magnitudes. Look at this. This week, for the whole week, 2,547. And there were some big ones. There were some 6s down here in Fiji. And right in here. See this cluster? There are 9 here. And these two, this 6.0 on the 27th and 6.6 on the 27th, these were 44 seconds and these were only 7 seconds apart. The 6.0 and 6.6 on the 27th, and very deep. 592 and 598 kilometers deep. All of them here are around 600, around 540 to 600 kilometers deep. So, what that does, it buffers, doesn't shake as much on top, and the water buffers it too. New Zealand, on the North Island, you had 3 this week, 5.4, Dannevirke, and 5.2 right next to it, and then a 4.2 near Jerusalem, New Zealand, all on the North Island. Here's one on the Antarctic ridge, 5.1. This. Okay, right. And then off the coast of Sumatra, actually in between these little islands, 7.1. This was on the 24th at Teluk Dalam, Indonesia, and it was in the water, so that's better than it being on land. And this is Sumatra over here. 5.1, and got 5s in the Mediterranean, and so on and so forth. See the line coming down from Kamchatka. So, where's this? Kyuchi. That's a volcano. You can see that. So three at the volcano, and so on. And then Hawaii was active. 245 this week. And Kilauea was swarming yesterday, or day before, 132 at Kilauea. That's right. This is in the mouth of the volcano. The largest, so these are pretty small. 2s. Most of them are under 1.0, but it's just, the sheer number of them that, given enough shaking, things will come apart. Then see the activity around this Cocos plate. And here 5.3 at the coast of Ecuador, and then here in the US, oh, look up here. Here's some activity in Canada and New York State. 5 in that picture. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. The largest was 3.4 near Ferme Nueve, Canada. And let's go down here, Southern California. Let's just get Southern California and this little part of Mexico. So really from the LA region down, how many did they have? 413. That's a lot. So here at Heber, 161, and then here at Nyland, this is Salton Sea, 50 now, 50 for this week. And then Ocotillo Wells, 19. You just got clusters everywhere. And so definite uptick there. Look at this. All along the San Andreas fault line. See? It's almost solid. We had a lot more here around the Reno area and Northern California. But you can see how the movement spread out here. Here's one on the Juan de Fuca plate, 2.7. Here's Pacific Northwest and Yellowstone and so forth. So that's my report for tonight. And I like to bring the focus back to spiritual perspective. I do believe we're in the end times. And as such, this is why I'm keep doing the reporting, because it's part of prophecy that all the calamities would happen. It's part of prophecy in the Bible. And I'm just showing you how much closer we are to the end. And we're continuing to read out of the book of Job. Job chapter 29. Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, "Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness, as I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me, when I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, the young men saw me and hid themselves, and the aged arose and stood up. The princes refrained talking and laid their hand on their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me. And when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me, because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help him. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind, and feet was I to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out. And I brake the jaws of the wicked, and plucked the spoil out of his teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. My glory was fresh in me, and my bow was renewed in my hand. Unto me men gave ear, and waited, and kept silence at my counsel. After my words they spake not again, and my speech dropped upon them. And they waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. If I laughed on them, they believed it not, and the light of my countenance they cast not down. I chose out their way, and sat chief, and dwelt as a king in the army, as one that comforteth the mourners. Job chapter 29. So here he's just reminiscing about his life before he was being tested by Satan, and just going back, saying these were the good old days. We all do that, but that was then, this is now. I think as things wind down, we'll be doing more and more life reviews, looking back through our lives to see what had meaning for us, and what we would have done differently. And we really need to just come to terms with everything. And if there are things that you're not proud of, you need to repent them. You need to repent of them. Repent and ask God's forgiveness. And then, make sure you don't do them anymore. Because repenting is not just asking for forgiveness, it's saying, I realize that I was doing that and I really shouldn't be, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And then you change your behavior. And you make a commitment. And even in these last few days and weeks and hours, you can change. You can, undo a lot of stuff with your prayers and with self-reflection and, inner reflection. You can just come to terms with everything. And, this is the life, do your own life review before you die. And I think you get ahead of the game that way. And you're more prepared. And then God can use you, You don't know. Your greatest work might be just right at the end. You just don't know how God's going to use you. So I love you all, and I'm praying for you. Hope everyone has as good a week as possible. If you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I recommend it now before it's too late. And I'll be here next week. If all holds together. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.